exposed. Took my grandmother out and I'll tell you there. Had a
Talk right into the mic.
You're up. All right. Good evening. I'd like to call this Kennebunkport Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. on, what's the date? The 10th of November, 2022. The first item of business is to approve the October 27th, 2022 minutes. Before we do that, there was one thing that I noticed. In the meeting minutes of the attendees, it said I was at the meeting. I was virtually at the executive session because I was in COVID quarantine, but I wasn't at the meeting. itself, so.
And
if
I
you-
wasn't at the meeting either, even though it states that I was. But you were, weren't you?
Yeah, there were three of us.
Yeah.
But there was a meeting prior where we didn't have enough people here to move the minutes. Do you
You
remember
sure about that?
No.
Because I
No.
wasn't here.
No, we had enough.
Yeah.
We did?
And we can vote on the meetings per clarification from our council. Even if we were not at the meeting, we can still vote on them.
Okay.
We've
So-
never not had three.
I thought that was one time because I did not attend the meeting prior, and so I couldn't vote on the minutes.
No, but you can, that's
You
what.
can.
Yeah.
what's
Oh, that's what he
clarified.
said.
That's been our
Yeah.
policy, but we've since got clarification,
Okay, good.
so. So do I have a motion,
I,
please?
so moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Very good. Number 3, this is the public forum part of our meeting this evening. This is an opportunity for anyone in the public to come forward with any questions or concerns that they have that are not on the agenda. Anybody in the audience?
We have Tracy with her hand up.
Oh, yes, Tracy O'Rourke, our town clerk.
And the audio is not working. I don't know why the audio is not coming out of the speaker.
Barely.
Barely.
Let me try and turn the volume up here. We got on,
We need to put on.
I know, but when they moved everything and unplugged everything for the voting, it didn't come back.
Ah,
Oh,
I can try and unplug and replug the HDMI and see if that works.
we can come back to Tracy if that's not,
I'm not clear it's gonna be easy to fix.
Hold on,
hold on, everyone.
now try it. Can you talk now, Tracy? No, it's still over the line.
this is where you guys are supposed to put up that old-fashioned display that says we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, please stand by.
Yes, please stand by.
All right, I can try and move, put a microphone up here.
Okay.
Try out, Tracy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll speak up, so hopefully everyone can hear. I just wanted to give you some updates from the election on Tuesday. So as of today, we have 3,368 registered voters, and in the 7 days leading up to the election, we registered 78 new voters, and we had 19 voters change their name or address. So it was a very busy week leading up to the election. And then on election day, we had 2,420 total votes cast. That's 72% of
Wow.
our registered voters.
72%.
And of that 2,420, 965 of them voted absentee, which is 40% of the votes cast.
Big.
So it was a very busy day for everybody.
Wow, that's good.
That's good, that's a good
And all
turnout.
of the town questions passed.
Good.
Yeah, we would certainly like to thank Tracy and her staff and all the
Volunteers.
people who help her ballot clerks who made the election a very smooth process for our voters. So kudos to Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you very much to everyone who worked at the polls, and thank you very much to Public Works for setting up and taking down, and thank you to the police department for checking in on us several times throughout the day. It was definitely a group effort, and I couldn't have had such a successful and smooth day without help from everyone, including the voters. Everyone was very, very kind and very patient, and we had 0 issues, so it was a very good day.
Great, that's what we like to hear.
What a celebration.
Absolutely. Is that all you have, Tracy?
That's all I have.
Oh,
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Trace.
Enjoy the long weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else for public forum? Seeing none. Item number 4 is a request for a liquor license extension for Kennebunkport Inn LLC. And I believe this has to do with Christmas Prelude. Did you want to just briefly mention that, Lori?
Sure, so this extension is for the 2-week period of Prelude. The inn would like to close off its main driveway for the event. It creates an area for guests. So this has gone through public safety, and they've reached agreement on the setup, and staff recommend approval.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, number 5, we're going to hold a public hearing to consider the approval of a consent agreement with the Ingalls at 437 Kings Highway for a setback violation. Warner, you're at the podium.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Werner.
Oh, wait a minute, I have to open this public hearing. Now you're up, Warner.
All right, great. As you all would have seen from the memo that was submitted to the board, I've been working with Barry and Harriet Engel in a review of their property located at 437 Kings Highway. The Engels approached me a while back in terms of looking at the property file and determining whether or not there were any potential zoning issues related to their property. And so in the review of that, what was found, and again, this is a very rare occurrence that we have the original building permit application, that was in the file from 1974. And so that's included in your packet, and just again, as a reminder, here's what it looks like. It's a single-page application. It was authorized by a selectman at the time in 1974, and the extent of what you have on here is a signature that says, "I agree to comply with all regulations." So a little
And they
bit.
didn't.
And he did not. Yes. And so, of course, we have significantly different processes now in place to ensure compliance with zoning and setbacks. And so, what was discovered was that the house was issued a permit and was built, in the early 70s. And only at this particular time did we discover, when looking at a survey that was also in the file, that the home doesn't meet the front setback of 20 feet, which was a requirement in zoning in the early 70s. And at that point, when this permit was issued, zoning had been in effect for less than a year, but it was in effect. And so ultimately, a zoning violation created, regardless of the time frame in which it was done, is still a zoning violation. And so when we look at these, I think, it's important for the board to know that we don't look at these lightly. We look at, we take a look at the history of the property. We look at, circumstances surrounding how and when and why, the violation may have been created. We also consider who we're dealing with at the time. Are we dealing with, is the current owner the one that we're dealing with, or is this a circumstance that has happened, 2-3 owners ago? And that's the situation here, is that, the property had been transferred, multiple times, since it was built. And so where this particular setback violation is in relationship to the town's property line, so the right-of-way of Kings Highway, this is not one that can be resolved through any type of property transfer with an abutting neighbor or anything of that nature, which is something that we consider whenever we're looking at, other setback violations that from time to time come to our attention. And so with these ones here, it's, after we go through a process of looking what a possible resolution is and who, may have been at fault and what the circumstances were, it is typically with those that we'll come forward, with a recommendation to enter into a consent agreement to provide some resolution to the setback violation that's there. And so that's what I'm bringing forward tonight for the board to consider, authorizing us to move forward with a court filing, that would then subsequently be resolved with a consent agreement. And
Is
the
that all?
angles are here as well.
I
if
see,
anyone,
yep.
would like to
Is that
speak
all
to
you have, Warner? Because I'm going to open this up to public comment.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody here who would like to speak? Barry, you don't need to, but do you wish to approach the microphone?
I think I will. So thanks, Werner. I would just like to add, this was in 1974 that the house was built, and I saw the price of $12,500, so I think I overpaid a little. But that being said, we purchased the home in 2001, and because we had actually did not need bank financing when we bought it, so there was no survey done. It only came up many years later, back in 2017, I believe it was, when we did a survey just to clarify our property. And we said, and Werner's been very, very helpful, we could just leave it the way it is, but ultimately, if the house, hopefully we'll be there for another 30, 40 years, but if it goes to our children, we just didn't want it to be encumbered with a setback, and because if they want to sell to someone and they need bank financing, it holds the whole thing up. So we thought the best thing to do was deal with it rather than just put it away. And as Werner said, we've hopefully been in very good faith with this. It certainly was done 30 years before we 40 years before we bought that, 30 years before we bought the house. So thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Barry. Anyone else wish to speak this evening?
You might just check on Zoom.
Check online.
Oh, yes, sorry.
There are no virtual
All right.
ones up.
Thank you, David. Okay, so I'm going to close this public hearing if there's no more comment. And Alan, you're up.
I'll make a motion to,
In the microphone.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agreement.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
So before you vote, normally what we would have is when we sign a consent agreement, to have the people we're signing with to pay the town attorney fees in the development of the agreement.
Right.
Okay, I'll amend that.
That's what I thought you said the first time. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the consent decree, but the plaintiffs or the owners of the property will pay the legal expenses. You good with that, Barry?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So all those.
And?
Yes, I'm sorry. And I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes.
Great.
You're welcome. Thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
forward. I'm sure your children will thank you.
No, they won't, thank you. They won't even know.
Okay, moving on. Number 6, shellfish license allocation for 2023. I believe it's going to stay the same.
Correct.
Everett is here with us tonight, our shellfish warden, and he may wish to come up and speak at item number 7, if not at this one. But do I have a motion to?
Everett, do you just want to give the recommendation?
Recommendation for the shellfish license?
Yeah, speak right into the microphone for folks at home.
The recommendation for the shellfish license allocation did not change from last year.
Okay, and can you just say how many licenses those are for folks listening at home?
I can. Commercial residents, residents only, 2. Recreational seniors, 65 plus, is 25, no charge. Recreational resident, 55 licenses at $15 each. Non-resident, 10 licenses, $30 each. Non-resident seniors, 65 and older, 3 of those, no charge. And warden recreational license, that's me, 1, no charge.
Thank you, Everett. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All right, motion passes. Number 7, consider extending the shellfish license season by 4 months. Would you like to speak to that, Everett?
Pretty much as the, I think you got a memo. The state has closed down the Smith Brook and Batson River for 4 months, in the middle of what we had as a clamming season, so they've lost 4 months there. And actually, on the other hand, the Back Cove or Sampson's Cove has been open, but that's got conditional restraints on it, and that's closed for 3 months. So what we're hoping to do is add the 4 months on from October on till February 15th,
Okay.
if we could. Just to make up for what was taken out.
Is the closure because of sampling?
Water samples, yeah, the state closes it down for water samples, so it didn't pass because of bacterial counts.
Okay.
And that one at Smith Brook and Batson that's on the books until they change it. So they don't have to tell us every year, that's what's there.
You mean as far as the closure?
As far as the closure for those months. Yep.
Okay.
Do you know how often they sample that?
Every month.
In Sampson's Cove, just 3 months and they'll reopen it?
No, Sampson Cove is open, but it's closed for 3 months, September, October, and November, I believe. So
And that will be annual
now
as
that
well?
will be open in that area that we're asking
Okay.
if we could extend.
All right. Thank you.
Do you think you'll ever go back to clamming all year long? I mean,
This pretty much does it except for 2 months. If
right,
this
I know,
4-month
but this is
extension-
only the one time. I'm just saying, in the future, do you think you'll get it open year-round for clamming?
I'm not sure what you mean by the one time. We're hoping to put this
Well,
in
it's
our
only-
books and keep
It's
it
only
year to year.
open, as far as Kennebunkport is concerned, I believe. It's only open from, what is it, May through October, or,
Well, the town has it open from April 15th to October 15th.
right.
But the
Is-
state,
But for what reason? Why,
no,
why
that
do they?
that timeframe was there before I came, and it just never got changed.
I think
Okay.
it was just the conservancy of the
Yes.
flats because of the number of clams and
Yeah.
seedlings. That's usually why you limit.
And will that change? That's my
Well, there's
question.
another reason for it. If you're out there digging in the wintertime and
In the fall.
you're opening up the clam flats, what happens is the clams that we don't take, because they're too small, freeze.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
If they don't set them back in the sand
Yeah.
and cover them up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
So hopefully this, if it's approved, it would be, the licenses will be good from April 15th to February 15th every year until,
So the way I presented it to the board is I understood that this was a one-time request. So I explained it to them that it would be until February of '23 as a one-time. But you're saying that you were requesting it for each year, that
for
we
each.
change our season.
Exactly, because the state has that 4-month closure in place until we're told otherwise. And
Oh.
it was open 2 years ago. Then they said the average count on the bacteria has changed, so that's why they close it for 4 months. And usually they don't change things for another 8 to 10 years before they, anyway. Because they take an average of that section of time. They
Okay.
call it a P90 score. It's their average of water quality tests, and we'll go from there.
so do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to extend the shellfish license season by 4 months.
Second.
On a, ye-
On an annual basis?
on an annual basis or annually?
Well, it's up to you guys.
I would say annually, because if the state's going to close down, they're going to need that time.
I think you probably do want a term in which you review it, so whether that be a year or 2 years or 5 years or whatever it is, but it might be good to just set a time period to review because things change.
5
Yeah,
years,
and
10
that's-
years?
And that is the Shellfish Committee's, what we're supposed to do, is see how many diggers. Probably won't be as many in the winter as there would in those 4 months that, in the summer there would have been. But to look at the resource, and see
Yeah.
if it isn't getting depleted or not.
Yeah.
I'd put a 2-year.
2 years?
2 years.
Okay, I'll
something
put,
like 2 years.
I'll include up to 2 years and then review.
We can, if Everett comes to us next year and says, well, it didn't work out so well, we can always rescind it.
Right.
Yep.
Okay,
So you're asking that I would come back in,
next year, I mean,
23,
only if you
2
think it's
years.
necessary.
Or 2 years.
Yeah. If you
Well,
see
it
that
has
there
to
was a
see-
lot of, loss of clams because people weren't putting them back in the holes and they were being overdug, then you certainly can come back to us next year and say, well, that didn't work out very well, and perhaps we should go back to the old ways. I mean, as the shellfish warden, those are your prerogatives. As the board, it's our obligation to to set the ordinance, or to set the rules, but certainly, that's where you come into play under your advice.
Yeah, well, we can do that every year, we can ask your
Yep.
request every year, if we can still extend it
Yeah.
again for the next following season.
But if it, no, under this one here, if it works, you don't have to come back to us next year, but if you
Not
see.
next year, but the
Fall.
year.
Correct,
The following year.
absolutely. All right, now that that's clear, so I have a motion, and do I have a second, to extend the shellfish season until February 15th of 2025?
Wow.
I had-
20,
Yep.
I did the second.
No,
until
it'd be
23, and it
24.
closes for 2 months.
Well, let's see, what are we now, 22?
22.
I don't know,
Or
ever since it
24.
changed from
So
19
this
to
will be
20,
for
I
this.
have been lost for the last 20 years.
This season will be 22, 23, and
Okay.
then 23 to 24. So
Yeah.
Okay.
come February 24 is when that would expire.
All right, so that's the motion we have.
Okay.
And I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Let's put this behind us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
That-
Everett.
That will take effect immediately?
Yes.
In other words, they can dig this winter, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent.
All right. Okay, moving on, number 8, update on the Wiles District Road construction project. Chris and Eric in the audience.
We'll be putting the slides up, there you go. So I just want to at least share with you the results of the survey
You're going to introduce yourself to
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
crowd at home?
yes, I'm Eric LaBelle, I'm the town engineer. So I just wanted, we sent out a survey to approximately, approximately 400 or people or so, and just sought some feedback. And those neighborhoods included the South Main to Ward Road. So it included all the neighborhoods along Wells District Road that are also adjacent. It was a request of the first informational meeting for us to try to also capture those that may have butt the Wells District Road. So we sent it to all of those people. We got a very robust response. I believe it's at 188 or 189. People responded to the survey, so it was close to 50%. So we're very happy about that. So what I wanted to share with you was the results of.
And what did we ask people on that survey?
So on the survey, we asked 3 items. Whether, one, would you prefer to have a sidewalk near the area that you live? Would you prefer to have widening at the area that you live? Or would you like to have minimal improvements in the areas where you live? And those were the 3 questions. Some responded, well, I'd like a sidewalk, but if I can't have a sidewalk, I'd like to have a widened shoulder. So we did split some of those. So what we would do is just do half one, half the other. But we didn't double count anybody like that. So the overall survey here shows that the results were the 63 on the overall. So that is the full survey. 63 people wanted to have sidewalks. 73 wanted shoulders on the side of the road, and 52 wanted minimal change on the overall project. We also understood that probably there was going to be, there's people that obviously live right adjacent to where the improvements might be taking place. So we did boil it down to, one, the scope of the area. So the Wiles District Road only. So this is from Ward to South Main. And as a result of that, there was 21 that wanted minimal change, 12 wanted sidewalks. Wiles District Road, yes, and 19 wanted shoulders. And those were the homes that were adjacent, abutting the Wiles District Road. And the third was within the scope of the work, we also wanted to know those that would be actually abutting the scope of the work, which actually is from the Wildwood Fire Station to Ward Road, which is really the scope that we're talking about here. Because the improvements have already been done from South Main to Wildwood. So there we got 19 for minimal change, 8 for sidewalk, and 13 for shoulders. So I kind of want to just break it down that way because I thought, it would be important. Obviously, these people here are probably the ones most affected, albeit everyone that's along in those neighborhoods may be utilizing the road. It is everybody's road, after all. But I certainly wanted to share that information with you so you got a good sense of what about those people that live here. The next step, so we talked about what would the proper next steps be. Lori and I spoke about this because we really wanted to try to get a little more granular, if you will, as to what's going to happen near my house, because there are some obvious restrictions and limitations as to what we can or should really be doing, I guess, in my opinion, and mind you, that's an opinion. But really wanted to hear and talk through and walk about what we're gonna try to do is hold 4 neighborhood meetings, if you will, and kind of walk a quarter of the job of the scope of work with the people that abut the area there. And so we'd like to be able to walk in and say, okay, we want to put drainage here, try to understand, one, what are the problems in the area? Can we widen? What does it look like if we widen? When I say widen, are we talking 3 feet or 2 feet? I mean, we're not talking super highway stuff. But I just, just to be able to show and talk through what people would prefer in those areas and what is reasonable to them. And sometimes it's a tree, sometimes it's a cemetery. There's a lot of physical features along that road. So understanding that, I think it was best to just possibly meet with, smaller groups and kind of walk through their particular section of the project. And so that was our next step, is to try to break the project into 4s and try to meet in the field with people that live there.
You hoping to do that before the snow flies?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then you'll come back to us with.
Part of the goal here is to put a capital cost together as well.
Yep.
So once I have a better understanding and I know if I need to have enclosed drainage, those types of things, how much rock, if any rock needs to be moved, what does that all look like? And I just need to put numbers to that. And I need to put that in for December for capital, so.
Sure. Great.
That's right around the corner.
Eric, the shoulders you're talking about are paved shoulders?
Yes, yep. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go as far as a bike lane. I don't
like a
think
bike
it
lane.
was really practical, or we were really gonna go somewhere, maybe we could have been, I would say a range of 2 to 4 feet. It could be 3. So what I was looking at is really a 10-foot travel lane, which is a little bit, it's a tight travel lane, plus 2 to 4 is what a shoulder would look like.
On
On
either
both
side or
sides?
one side?
On either side, on both sides.
Yeah.
So, and the sidewalk would be on one side, right? And that was going to be 5.5 feet?
It would, right, so on the sidewalk, I'll try to explain this, is that I would have a 10-foot travel lane. I need a 1-foot offset to the face of curb, so not to take out sidewalls on tires. So I would really be looking at an 11-foot travel area. The curb, which would be about 6 inches, and then another 5 feet. So I'd be looking from center line, or say if we were going to utilize the yellow line, the center line, so we would be looking at 16.5 feet. So that's more impactful,
That's
yes.
substantial.
Is there enough right-of-way there to even do that? I mean, aside from people's concerns of
Yes.
taking up their.
Yeah, we have a 50-foot right-of-way there. So there's plenty of right-of-way, it's just, just trying to strike with the proper balance here.
Yeah, and I think that certainly we had a lot of interest in this neighborhood. And the meetings have been very well attended. I think you've received a number of phone calls as well
Yep.
from people who've attended and not attended meetings. So I just want to make sure the selectmen realize that this is a radar issue. There's a lot of properties, when you think about how many properties we have townwide, 400 of them are impacted by this project.
Yeah.
It's a project that has a lot of contact with a lot of different citizens. Certainly, we heard safety was a concern, both from the aspect of they don't want more speeding by widening the road. There's concern about that, as well as the character of the street and the neighborhood and the feeling of, the trees and the closeness of the road, adding to that character. And also, there's safety concerns about pedestrians who don't have the ability to walk safely in their neighborhood. Bicycles were discussed, as bicycles going through there. I wouldn't say I heard from the neighborhood as many concerns about bicycles as pedestrians. But I know that Sheila and John were there as well at the last meeting. I don't know if they have any input to share.
Well, what I remember from it is the people who spoke up wanted either minimal or it seemed to me either wanted minimal or just the little smaller extension as far for walking. That seemed to me to be the most of what people spoke about. And there was one woman who said that she initially sent in her report.
Survey, yep.
Survey, that she wanted sidewalks because she's a walker. And then during the meeting, she said, I thought about it, and she said, that would really, like you said, widen the road. I'm taking that back. So, it's that sort of thing. I use that road all the time, and yes, I see bikers, bicyclists on it, but it's not a road that is constant with traffic both ways. So it's very easy to just go around, and so my thought would be just to widen it for the walkers, because we do get a lot of walkers.
Yeah, there were a few people indeed that were concerned about cycling. Yeah, it is, the traffic isn't a lot both ways, but there are an awful lot of steep hills and blind turns, which with cyclists and with pedestrians is a real safety concern. So having some widening, I think, is going to be necessary and important to do. And I believe that's the sense I got from most of the people there as well. Those that live right on the road probably don't want the mess in front of their house. I can appreciate them wanting little change, but I think the majority of the folks that are using the road would like to have some degree of safety added by the shoulders.
We also don't want to turn it into a speedway either.
Yeah, but a 10-foot road is going to be tough to do that.
Oh.
So.
I remember when they widened it when I was in high school. I tell that to my friends.
Yeah, but those are the buggies days,
Yeah, right. Yeah. I was back in the Back to the Future days. Well, thank you very much, Eric, and we look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, number 9.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If you have, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
My apologies. I didn't realize there was anybody who wished to speak.
I was at both of these meetings, and I appreciate everything these gentlemen have been doing, but I did want to express my concerns.
Could you just
My
tell us?
name is Kevin Johns,
Thank you.
and I live at 83 Wilds District Road. And I put down a couple of thoughts today, so I'm going to read from this. One of the reasons that we purchased our home in the Wilds District was due to the scenic quality of the roadway. Homes in many instances are situated near to the street, creating a welcoming experience to those who walk, bicycle, or drive when not in a hurry and exceeding the speed limit, this approximately 1-mile stretch of road. I bicycle, as do members of my family, and I regularly walk my dog to Cape Porpoise and to Dock Square. For the most part, drivers respect my space and provide me with a required 3-foot clearance, but not always. During the 2 public meetings that that have been held regarding improvements to and the probable widening of Wilds District Road, I've heard longtime residents state that they no longer feel comfortable walking on this stretch of roadway. I've heard other new residents state that they are not comfortable with their children bicycling to Bradbury's. While I'm not in favor of widening the roadway, I'm strongly in favor of having the roadway feel safe to those who frequent it on foot, on bicycle, or behind the wheel of a car. So I asked myself, what has changed such that residents no longer feel safe? I suppose the obvious answer has to do with a change in population density and in the number of visitors to the area. But if I'm walking along the road and am passed by vehicles that are obeying the speed limit or sharing the road and passing by courteously at a safe distance, it shouldn't matter whether I'm being passed by 1 or by 10 vehicles. I'm curious as to whether the town has ever taken any action to monitor traffic and speed along this bucolic section of roadway, or whether there has ever been discussion about adding signage that encourages sharing of the roadway with pedestrians and bicyclists. I know that none currently exist. Prior to voting earlier this week, I was looking at the town's comprehensive plan. The graphic for mini survey number 2 that included questions about locations in town that are hazardous to pedestrians is a combined DOT pedestrian bicycle sign along with a state law sign stating 3 feet minimum to pass bicycles or pedestrians. Wouldn't it be prudent to install signs such as these and to monitor speed, especially during the summer months before committing to spending millions of dollars to widening the roadway, blasting away defining ledge, taking down old-growth trees, carving a path closer to homes that are already close to the street, and to forever changing the pedestrian feel of Wilds District Road. Eric has been great about reaching out to the population and allowing citizens to have their say, but he has maintained that if widening of this section of the roadway were to take place, it wouldn't be nearly as imposing as that which took place on the section of Wilds District Road between Main Street and the firehouse at Turbott's Creek Road. What he has said is that the travel lane should be 10 foot wide, you heard that this evening, with 4 foot shoulders. He said 3 to 4 foot shoulders. Out of curiosity, I measured a typical width of road at the existing widened area just west of the firehouse. And indeed, the travel lane widths are 10 feet and the shoulders were an average of 4 feet, one being 3 foot 6 inches and the opposite side of the road being 4 foot 6. To me, this suggests that the entire length of Wilds District Road would become what one resident described during our meetings as a superhighway. A superhighway that will give license to drivers to travel at greater speeds, unless of course this is closely monitored. So why not monitor the road now? Provide a higher level of policing, provide improved signage, retain the scenic quality of the road, and save millions of dollars in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? David, is there anyone online? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Number.
Wait a second.
Yeah, please come to the microphone. That way the folks at home can hear you.
My question is,
Can you state your name, please?
Robert F. Convery, on 1 Skyline Drive in Kennebunkport.
He's the next agenda item. The stop sign is
Oh,
the next
yes.
agenda item.
Oh, yeah, well, stay right there, because that's what we're going to talk about right now. Item number 9. Consider setting up a stop sign it says on Community House Drive, or at the intersection of Community House Road in Goose Rocks. Let me just explain to you this evening, we certainly want to hear your input, but in order for the board to do that, we will have to have a public hearing. So we cannot make this decision tonight, but we welcome your input, and we will have a discussion as to whether we will move forward with this.
Okay, the situation is that what we're talking about is an area on Community House Road going up to the community house with these, during the summertime and into the fall and into the spring, we have activities up there going all the time. And in the summertime, the 2 months there, we'll have, as many as 60, 70 children that's there. And during other times, you have people playing tennis and everything else up there. And what's happening is that over the period of time, my house overlooks that intersection. There's 3 dirt roads, and Community House Road comes up as a hot top, and then it takes a left there and goes back up, and it's almost like coming into 5 roads. And I've seen time and time again, nobody that I know of taken to the hospital or anything else, but children, people coming down from the community house, which is a grade or downhill, and they get on their bikes and everything else, and they come down and they go to make that turn, and some of them end up hitting something, some of them go off the grass and stuff. I've gone out, I won't say numerous times, but enough times that I actually, in this time of the year, I keep a box of Band-Aids there and stuff like that. And, and other times where I'm sitting is, my TV is there, and I look down the road and I see something coming up, and sometimes I want to dive out the door onto the deck and scream at the thing. And it's got to the point that, like I say, I have not seen anybody that severely hurt, okay? I know some have gone to the doctors after they have, left. And I've been out, and like I say, time and again. So what we did is we had the deputy chief and police chief, we had the community house, Chris Simone from Public Works, and the 4 or 5 of people that were there. the fellow, Mike Ma, who we call Coach, came up with the suggestion that the stop sign be put on that part of Community House Road that comes down from the Community House, okay? And so it was stop or they can there. And I know that there was some discussion between the coach and the deputy police chief relative to having maybe police officers come in during the summertime and give a small presentation to them, and that's, I just want to show it.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's, John Downey lives right in the area too, and John and I, and we just were talking coming over, and so far we've seen what we've seen, but if it doesn't get corrected or we can't do something about it, we're gonna have a serious one there, if not a fatal, okay? And that's what bothers me and stuff like that, so that's what we're looking at, and, anything I'm missing, John?
Did it. John Downey, 16 Prescott Drive. Just to add to that.
Can you just have John?
Can you speak into the microphone, John? Thank you.
So just to add to that, this is a time of day in the morning and the time of day when the kids get dropped off. Parents just can't wait to drop off the kids. They can go do their thing. And then they're always late to get them when it's done because they're doing that. And so they're going a bit fast. And there's a slope hill where the kids come down on their bikes and the cars come down and turn a corner. So there's kids coming this way and cars this way and cars that way and kids this way. The kids all go wide and they're going to either run into a car or the car just needs to stop and take the corner, because sooner or later, and again, it's just, as I said, as the years go by that you're there, there's less and less respect for speed. There's more of everybody's in a hurry, and they don't understand what it's like to live and work and respect the idea that there's kids coming out of driveways and
Can you show me which
hills,
house
et
is
cetera.
yours?
So they're not practiced.
Yeah.
So unless we get something there that stops them, that they would recognize from back home, like a stop sign, or even coming up Community House the other way, a painted slow sign, can't put a stand-up sign because it's in front of somebody's property, but something on the road that says slow,
Right.
children, because it's just a matter of time before that happens, because like I said, there's less and less respect for, and everybody's in more of a hurry today than they were a year ago and 10 years before that. So that's just it. Again, they're
Okay.
unpracticed in a busy community with kids that dominate the area.
Yeah. And it's very active in the summertime, very active.
It is very active, and again, everybody's in a hurry, so I mean, the point is, they've got to stop. It should say stop and think, but stop is okay. Stop and then go, because either the kid's gonna run into them or they're gonna run into the kids, so it's preventive. But we think it's really important, because eventually, the call will come in, and it's a really inexpensive route to go to possibly save a severe injury or
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
So we're just
Sure.
asking for your cooperation on that.
Absolutely.
And I've seen and been there time and time again, going out with the Band-Aids and stuff like that. Several of the kids I know were taken to right away to the doctor's office or somewhere, but nothing there. But every day, you worry about it. We're talking about the kids in 2 months out of the year, but then there's other people, and there's activity going all the way. Matter of fact, yesterday, this past Sunday rather, that we're playing pickleball up there and everything else. So it's not something that's just 2 months. It goes from whenever the weather in November, right straight through to May or even into April, depending on the temperature.
Okay.
Great.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Or anything?
No, I don't think so. Is there any other question from the board?
No.
No. So, we will have.
Show me where that stop sign is, please.
Right
Yeah,
here.
I have a question.
And the
You're
gentleman
concerned
said he
about
lives
the
right here.
bikes
Okay.
coming down. Of course, stop signs not going to help really with the bikes, but the kids are
Well,
coming.
yeah.
Hmm?
Maybe.
Bikers are supposed to stop.
Indeed,
Right.
they are.
Yeah.
Like I said, the stop sign's not going to help much with bikes.
Okay.
And, come on, these are kids coming down a hill. But if they're swinging wide, I wonder why you wouldn't also consider having a stop sign coming it's the cars that are coming up towards towards that intersection from
See,
the
I just
beach.
addressed that. I understand and you're right. You're not wrong. You're right, they're coming wide and the car's coming the other way.
Right.
So that's what you can't physically put a stop sign there because it's directly centered in front of somebody's property and they don't obviously want a stop sign. The telephone pole where you put a stop sign is probably 15 to 20 feet ahead. And by then, it's too late. So you could paint,
So on the right-of-way, we can't put a stop sign? Am I?
well,
When you,
I mean, again, it'd be 20 feet up from where the pole is in front of somebody's property. It just, because that's where you'd have to stop them.
Or you put a white line on the road,
That's-
and
that's-
you've got
that was my
but
suggestion.
the stop sign is beside, well, we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
it seems to me that that's a more critical point for kids coming down that hill from Community House and taking a right and going wide. I'd worry about the cars coming up as well.
Well, it's a low cost, actually, both would be effective. One, I think you could paint, the other would be more of a downhill to stop them. Because going downhill, you're more apt to coast around rather than stop.
Well, stop and put some speed bumps or riffles, huh?
the other thing is, just recently, about 3 or 4 of us went out and on what they call Prescott, where it comes up
Right.
right into the intersection. There was a whole bunch of
Brush.
brush,
Hard brush.
trees and stuff like that. And we went and when you were coming down Community House Road, this whole thing was across, you couldn't see
it, yeah.
around the corner or for kids that walking over there or cars coming. So we went over and with the saws and everything else and cut everything down and left there. And now that vision is just very clear. It'll take, we committed to doing that all the time and keeping that in good shape. We talked to the people that about that, and they gave us permission to go ahead and cut it down. I mean, it wasn't on their property, it was, just wild stuff. And, they came up and looked at it and they said, thank you. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate the
Chris
two of you
Simeone.
bringing this to us this evening.
Yeah.
Do you want
And
Chris to?
Well, Chris Simeone was there at the meeting along with Deputy Chief Moses, so if you want to hear any information, he was there as well.
Chris, do you have anything to share with us?
Chris Simeone, Public Works Director. So I was at that meeting. At least what's been proposed now would be the stop sign coming off of Community House Way at the intersection of Community House Road. As with anything else, people can ignore signage. That's always a possibility. It does make sense to put one there. It's not a huge level of effort to do that. I still think that there will be an issue for any of the bicyclists that are coming down Community House Way and making that right onto Community House Road. They're still going to be swinging wide if they're not going to be stopping at the stop sign. So this will not alleviate that problem. Certainly, I think there's going to be an education effort on the part of the police department with the community house to try to help address some of that issue. But as far as putting a stop sign on Community House Road, that is possible, that can be done. I know that perhaps the neighbors may not want that sign there. Certainly, we can paint a stop bar, but I don't think I would suggest simply putting a painted stop bar on the ground without a sign.
I agree.
No.
one other thing, I know that conversation between, a conversation between the deputy chief and Mike Mark, the coach that runs, the director of the community house, and they talked about having police officers come up and have a little presentation at 3 or 4 or 5 times, whatever the different segments of the classes they have during the year, and to get that started, and also the fact that when the thing is over with and they're all going out at the same time, they're talking about taking 1 or 2 of the people that are paid for the, works for the community house, and have them go down before the bikes, the thing, and kind of, yell at them, whatever you want to say. But there, I mean.
Encourage, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just something that, seriously, I gotta tell you, you can come over and sit in my living room, my TV room, and look out the window and see if you enjoy life.
Well, it's nice of you to take care of all those children. But you know, like you said, it's a less expensive way to handle something. And if we put a stop sign there, let's see how that works. Maybe we won't have to go any further. And if we do, you know, we have the opportunity.
We'd be watching it, all of us, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
We
Very
certainly
good.
appreciate you looking out for the children.
Yeah.
So tonight, as a board, we cannot take action on this. We need to have a public hearing. So
Right.
is there interest amongst the board members to do so?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So if you'll note that, Lori or Yanina. Well, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll see you,
At the
if not,
public hearing.
at our public hearing, which I can't promise you will be in December, but it will be soon.
okay.
Certainly, it'll be,
It'll probably be December 8th.
Sounds pretty specific.
okay, yeah, well, that'll be our first meeting in December. Okay. It shouldn't take very long. And that way we'll be able to get the sign in the ground before springtime, or whenever Chris can get his guys out there, provided the ground's not frozen. Right.
Don't worry, he does a super job.
All right, good. We like to hear that. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 10 is consider placing a tax-acquired property, map, block, and lot 21-9-58 on out for sale.
So, in your packet, you have a map showing where this particular parcel is. It is a back piece that does not
Thank you.
that does not have road frontage on Wilds District Road, and it is abutted by 3 other parcels. The town tax acquired it in 2010, and it has been sitting on the town's record since then. Earlier this year, we were approached by one of the abutters who was interested in how they might go about purchasing this piece of property. We explained that because it was tax acquired, that would be up to the Board of Selectmen, whether they had interest in that. And so the question before the board is, do you want us to place this property out for sale? Because it is landlocked, I think it might make sense to offer it to the 3 abutters, because someone couldn't really do something with it if they purchased it individually. I'm trying to save Werner from having other issues develop. But that's the question before you.
Well, that makes sense.
Is the thought that we would only offer it to the 3 abutters? Those would be the only people who would purchase it?
In Kennebunkport, the town has rarely sold tax-acquired property. In other communities I've served, it has been a normal practice to, if there is a landlocked piece like this, to offer it to the abutters.
That makes sense to me. I mean, again, yeah. Good,
I'd say move on that.
so do I. Do you need a vote on that?
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion that we place lot 21-958 up for potential sale by the 3 abutting lots.
Second.
Sorry. I have
For me?
No, I was. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? So moved.
So I have one question on that. Normally, we would put out a minimum bid, and in this case, the taxes have not been paid in 12 years, and so and they were written off long ago, so I don't have an outstanding balance. Normally, we'd be looking for the minimum amount of taxes owed to the town. The property is assessed at $19,000, but for this unusual piece, I'm not sure what the value is. I don't know if you guys have a minimum bid in mind.
How does assessment work on that? I mean, does it take into account the fact that there's no road access or not?
You would have to ask Werner Gilliam.
Warner,
Glad you stayed.
is it just a square foot number in that area, or does it take into account the location of the parcel?
So I would tell you, if it's valued at that number, that's been taken into account. That there's, either based on size or access, what you have is likely you've got a multiplier in there, where the value's been reduced, likely by at least half, depending on access. So I don't know that we have an awful lot of information on that piece, and I think that's one of the other things that makes it more advantageous to the abutters.
Right.
Certainly access, is going to be an issue, that would require an awful lot of research as to whether or not there was ever a right-of-way to it or what, or whatnot, so. But,
So we're talking a little over 4,000 square feet or something like that?
yeah, this is a pretty small piece. Yep.
Yeah, you couldn't really do much with it if
No.
you owned it outright.
Right.
And the town only offers a quitclaim deed, so whatever rights it has in it is
Yep.
what you get, and if we have none, then you get none, so.
Right.
It's not the same as us offering a warranty deed for a property.
So I'd say leave it at 19,000, that's what it's paid, that's what it's valued at.
Well, but it's a minimum kind of thing, though. You put the, maybe 15 and,
Well, offer it to the three abutters and let them
let them dig
bid.
it out.
Yep.
Well, what if only one of them's
No.
interested and they
I
say they're gonna give us
think- I
$10?
think-
We're gonna have
I
some
think we need to
explaining
have a
to do,
minimum.
as
I think
they
you need
say.
to have a minimum.
You need
Yeah.
to have a
You
minimum.
gotta have a price on it.
I would say at least $10,000.
So I got 10, 15, 11, it's like an auction, go
Yeah,
once.
exactly.
I would like to see it
I-
more
I-
than 10, but, hey,
It's up to you guys. I don't,
I'd keep it at $19,000. That's what it's valued at.
okay.
I would do too.
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
right.
Two businessmen here.
We're not in a bargain thing here, we're,
I agree
Nope.
with you, Mark.
But it is a piece of property that we have on our books that we're not getting any taxes on.
Plain use.
Doesn't cost us anything to own it, though.
No,
No.
it doesn't. I'm just saying that,
Whoever gets this piece of property. it
let's
will
not be
worth
penny
it.
wise and pound foolish here. Let's
think?
go for the, whatever the value is.
Yeah.
We got a basis to set the value.
And
which
it's
I think
not-
is Mike's point, and that's.
I think
that's-
that I will
that's-
note in the publication what we have it assessed for.
Yeah.
I think that's the.
And it's
Yes, I
not,
would like
we have a fiduciary responsibility. It's not the five of our property. I mean, not that we don't all know that. It belongs to everybody who's a,
I think what I'm saying
Taxpayer.
is that if we're opening it up to the three abutters, if we put a price on it that they're not interested in, then we sit with a piece of property.
Well, that's called negotiating.
yeah.
That's what you do.
So let's
You
start at
put a
19.
price out there and you see
I'd like to
what's what.
keep it at 19.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
I mean, just to give it away, that's
We're not
gonna,
going to give it away.
correct. Okay. So
We negotiate against ourselves.
do I have a motion for the amount?
Make a motion that it's $19,000 minimum.
Okay. Do I have a second? to that?
Second.
I was going to just announce that it was assessed
Assessed
at
at
19,000,
Assessed,
Okay.
okay.
rather than saying that's a minimum.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we've just had a big
Remember that-
public discussion about this,
You
so.
have every right to refuse all bids. So if you
Okay.
are not happy with the proposals offered, you can negate them.
Exactly.
You're not required to move forward.
Exactly.
All right.
All right.
So I think we've made our intentions clear. Number 11.
Have
We haven't
do
voted.
Need to vote, I think.
Oh, where am I
made a
tonight?
motion.
Yeah,
And
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor?
at 19 assessed.
Passed. I went to the dentist today, cut me some slack.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining, okay. So I have 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Okay, number 11, request for the street opening permit by George Burr and Son for Old Fort Avenue. What do we got here?
Chris is here.
Chris, oh, and there he is.
So we did receive a street opening application from George Burns Sons. This is going to be for a new water service for 11 Haverhill Avenue. That particular service is going to have to come off of Old Fort Avenue. We don't know that a street opening is necessarily going to be needed. That main is right at the edge of the road. They just can't pinpoint it, so they may not even have to cut into the pavement at all. But we figured to be safe, we would have them fill out a street opening application. So the extent of the work would be to cut maybe a 5-foot by 5-foot section out of the pavement in the travel lane to make that connection. We would have them come back in with 2.5 inches of base material and compact that. And again, it may not even be necessary. The main may be far enough into the soft shoulder that they can do it without a street cut.
What do you dig down beside the road and then tunnel in, hope you can hit it, and if you can't, open it?
Well, they actually think that this may be in the soft shoulder, so they won't even have
So you go
to get
down
into the
first, see
pavement.
if you can get to it.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes. All right. Now, number 12, adoption of the budget development schedule from July 2023 through July 2024.
I will say so moved. It's pretty close to the kind of schedule we have every year.
That's fine, second.
Yes. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? So moved. Thank you, Sheila. Okay, number 13, the boat launch committee.
And I believe Yanina's ready to present.
Okay, Yanina, you're gonna do it? Great.
Hello, everyone. Yanina Nicholas. Thanks to you, Special Projects Manager and HR Administrator for the town now. So I would like to remind that the Board of Selectmen authorized the creation of the Boat Launch Committee. And you also authorized its goals and guidelines for the committee. So this committee will be responsible for looking through over our facilities and land, by our, I mean the town's facilities and land, and trying to find the best way and the best spot for the boat launch. That's the name of it. So this committee will go throughout all the way till the end of the calendar year of 2023. We hope that they will report to the Board of Selectmen on the regular basis. So with that, on October 14th, the town sent out e-blast to all the subscribers to the website, as well as it was discussed on the Board of Selectmen meeting, that we will be looking for volunteers. That same day, I believe we received about 5 volunteers, and then throughout the week, altogether, we got 12 applications, which is a lot, and it's wonderful for any committee. But with that, it became a little complicated because for the purposes and guidelines and goals for this committee, it is a lot of people. So John Dykstra took a lead on this process, and he sent out an email to each applicant where he asked the applicant to explain their interest in this committee and explain their experience and what values can they bring to this committee. So we received 7 responses. One response was, I'm going to withdraw my application, which is okay as well. That's the process. And then we met with John and we went over all the responses and we discussed, what we liked and what we thought was good and valuable for this committee. And we chose 5 people. And you can see the list presented to you on the memo, and I'm happy to read it. So it's Hartwell Blanchard, Jeff Dent, Charles Howard, Carol Morris, and Richard Perry. And you also, I included the responses in your packets too, so you can see that some of them are super detailed and have a lot of information and just wonderful. I mean, it was great to see that people are so interested in this. It shows how important this is for this town. We do believe that we chose people with diverse backgrounds, with diverse experiences, and someone who will actually bring something good to this. And also, I believe that John Dykstra will be the selectman representative on this committee, if I'm right.
Correct.
Yep?
Yes.
Yep, correct.
Okay, so we asked the board to authorize this list of members.
Did you say the expiration date of this committee?
Yes, so this committee will operate through the end of calendar year 2023, so I would say, December 31st of 2023?
Yeah, because it's an ad hoc committee.
It is an ad hoc committee.
Yes, thank you, Yanina. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
you and John, for going through this. Do I have a motion to approve these?
I will make the motion to move the slate of Hartwell Blanchard, Jeff Dant, Charles Howarth, Carol Morris, and Richard Perry.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Good luck,
Thank you,
John.
John.
Thank you, Yanina.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and number 14, consider appointing Susan Kagan for the Conservation Commission with the term expiration on 1 July 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Congratulations to Susan. All right, and the best news of the night here, accept a $8,100 donation from several citizens of Kennebunkport from the GOP towards the Emergency Fuel Fund. We always appreciate money coming into that fund, but this is a tremendous amount of money, and in a year when it is desperately needed, because any of us who have filled up our barrel lately know that we're at record high prices. So,
And can I just say
Yeah,
a few
absolutely.
words? It was very interesting where one of the gentlemen from the GOP committee, not committee, but group, took it upon himself to make some phone calls, and it was, he said, this is from him, he said it was very interesting that so many of the people that he spoke with didn't even know that we had an emergency fuel fund. And so it was very enlightening for a lot of the townspeople, very enlightening to the GOP group. And what is more amazing is the generosity of the people that he spoke with. And the checks came in, everything from $50 to $1,000. It was just amazing at how generous the people were. So that's where the 8,100 came in. We thank everybody that participated, and this is going to go a long way for this tough winter.
Really a wonderful.
it sure will.
Yeah, just a wonderful thing.
So do I have a motion, Sheila?
Motion to accept the donation of 8,100 from the Kennebunkport GOP toward the emergency fuel fund.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor? The motion passes with much appreciation.
Much appreciation.
And we have another one here, another very generous anonymous donation this time for $1,200 towards the general needs account.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Again, with much appreciation.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. Let's see, number 17 will be other business. Mike?
I have one thing, and like to say that we want to congratulate Pat Briggs last week at a nice ceremony in Alfred. Pat was awarded the Spirit of America Award for York County, and well-deserved, and just a really nice ceremony, and congratulations to Pat.
Absolutely.
Yes. John, do you have anything?
Nothing to add?
Alan?
Just one thing, we are starting, working on our prelude this year. The volunteers will be out the weekend of November 18th, 19th, and 20th. And you can expect the tree at that point. And we thank our Public Works people for all their help. And if anybody is so inclined to volunteer, give me a call at the Rum Line, and we can designate jobs.
There you go.
Great. Lori, I know you have a couple of things.
Yeah, one item I wanted to just let the selectmen know, Chief Sanford and I met with a couple of representatives from the town of Kennebunk and the Chamber of Commerce, talking about buses and bus traffic, especially in the Dock Square area, and discussing the issues relative to that. And we'll be getting together again, probably with members of our business community as well as Kennebunk. And certainly if any of the board members are interested in attending a meeting in the future, we welcome your input as well. I think that the impacts on our side of the river are not felt as deeply on the other side of the river. And so getting people to understand those impacts and how we really need to look at this jointly is going to be imperative. The other item is, about a year ago, we signed in September 21 an agreement with Encore Renewable Energy. We had joined with the towns of Old Orchard Beach, Gunkwit, Kittery, and Freiburg, working through our Corinna Grader, our sustainability coordinator in Southern Maine Development Corporation, to put out an RFP to have sustainable energy for our communities with the net energy billing credits. We ended up choosing Encore because they were a New England company, as well as the fact that they offered the largest discount and were the furthest ahead in the permitting process with the state and Central Maine Power. We ended up purchasing power from two projects, one that was going to be in Wilton and one that was going to be in Oakland. So since the signing of the agreement, we have kept in touch with Encore, and in February last year, heard that the project was a little behind schedule, but that they were ordering materials and expected to go forward. In May of this year, we then got an update that the CMP requirements for interconnection had driven the costs up on one project by over $250,000, and the permitting had been delayed, and they really weren't sure about the timing, but the project had gotten delayed again. A couple of weeks ago, we had another update from Encore where they came back and changed the terms of our agreement. Those terms changed from the purchase of the renewable energy credits as well as a 27.5% discount for those towns, and they changed it to two options. Option A would be an 18% discount instead of 27.5%, and there would no longer be the inclusion of the renewable energy credits. The second offer was a 7% discount, but it would include the renewable energy credits. The five towns have met individually as well. I also forwarded our contract to our town attorney, who is very well-versed in these utility contracts and what's going on in the marketplace. She said this is not uncommon, that she's seeing this with many other places and communities, that the CMP issues have derailed a lot of projects, and that normally you're looking in that 15 to 18% is the best discount you're going to receive, and without renewable energy credits. The five towns are each going back to their boards to decide what they want to do. I think the managers who have been dealing with Encore are losing faith because Encore's communication, I would not say, has been the best, and the project has been off track and changed dramatically in that time frame. Understanding that a lot of that is not within Encore's control, but that, questioning whether Encore has been a good partner. So, one option is we could go back out for a request for proposal. The issue is that for the net energy billing credits, any project has to be completed by the end of next year. And probably most projects are sold out at this point, so little benefit is seen with going out for an RFP at this point. We could sign with Encore and hope that they are able to complete this project. This contract is for a 20-year term, keep in mind.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. Another option is, because of the size of our purchase of energy, we would fit in the small business category, so we could go to the open marketplace and go through a power broker. And one on the of the ones I looked at, they're ranging discounts from between 5% to 15%. They supposedly have another project out there that might have a slightly higher discount, but it's not one that has been gone through all the permitting yet. But that would only require a 60-day notice, so we're basically purchasing kilowatt hours. We would not get renewable energy credits, but we would be able to purchase renewable energy. The last option that our attorney talked about is with the Inflation Reduction Act, that there is thought that maybe there is this third wave of sustainable projects coming, because there's a lot of incentives in that. Of course, that is yet to be seen, and the question is whether that will come to fruition, but whether or not there may be other opportunities in the future. So I'm going to the board to just see where you are at this point and whether or not we want to continue with the Encore contract. We're not required to, or we want to do something more short-term.
I'm not happy with a 20-year term.
That's the
Make
that's
sure
the
you're
most
talking
important.
enough.
I'm not happy with a 20-year term.
Yeah, this market is evolving way too fast to be locked in for 20 years.
Yeah.
Did we invested some money in this, though, right?
We didn't invest any, we invested time. But
Time,
we didn't
okay.
invest any cash.
And
Okay.
there's no penalty to not signing?
That is correct.
I'd move on to something else.
I'd keep our options open.
Same here, yeah.
Sheila?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well,
So my last item, I'm going to keep my power options open. The last item I have is, so our next meeting is going to be on November 22nd. It's the short warrant signing meeting, but that's what we had from our notes last time. And since 2 of you will be out of town, I'm just confirming with the 3 who will be here that November 22nd at 3 PM works for you?
Yep.
it might smell like bait, but I'll be there.
Okay, and we're going to hold that
Yeah,
at Town
but
Hall?
With this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you. And the only thing I would like to say this evening is that I hope everyone remembers that tomorrow isn't just a day off from work, it's Veterans Day.
Right.
And for those of us who wore the uniform, it's a very special day. You know, I mean, I think veterans are treated very well in this country. And I would just ask everybody, if you know a veteran tomorrow, to go up and shake their hand and thank them for their service. You know, most of us who did it certainly did it not because we wanted accolades, but because we thought it was the right thing to do. And it is very, it's very nice to hear from people that, you know,
That we appreciate.
that people's service, and I did very little compared to many people, that it's valued. So just keep that in mind tomorrow while everyone has the day off.
Nice thought.
So, all right, moving on to our final 2 items. I'd like somebody to move the warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So
Move to
moved.
adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Thank you.
That's all.
Hmm.